really wanted it to feel authentic because the outside feels so authentic, and everything we did inside felt as though we were putting back into the house what had been maybe stripped out at another time, or at least that's the story I like to tell myself. So I have always been a fan of Farrow and Ball paint, and so I knew that it had incredible, amazing qualities and that the colors are absolutely stunning. So we went for it. Reached out to Farrow and Ball, and we had some conversations about the wearability and the durability and the type and the amount of paint to order. So I often rely on my painters to do that kind of work for me, but my painter hadn't worked enough with Farrow and Ball, so that's the direction we went. And that was a really fun part. We came here, the whole team, in the middle of winter, and it was cold and it was COVID, and we had all the doors and windows open and our masks on, and we were looking for something to distract ourselves. And we got out our Farrow and Ball paint chips and our boards and set them up, and I narrowed it down and just kind of started talking. We stood there together and we worked through kind of what we thought each person individually might feel connected to, because it was important to me that my team feel comfortable in their space. And they each sort of had different rooms to be in, so we had conversations about how do you want your room to feel and what do you want your space to feel like. And so we chose some really great colors. We chose setting plaster for in our studio where we do our presentations, where we do our scheming. It's a very soft, almost pink color for the paneling that we added. This is a panel detail that is not original to the space. We added it and then painted it. It's MDF. Paints beautifully. And then painted the ceiling the same color. And then in one of the design offices, we did Indian yellow, which I think it might be my favorite color of all the colors here in the studio. It's absolutely beautiful, warm and cozy and soft. And then I used for one of the other designer offices here in the studio, a color called Pink Ground. And the ceiling in that room, we did a kind of taupey gray color. In the kitchen area and in my office, we did smoke green. And at the back of the house, where there was a lovely little addition that the family had lived here before put on, I wanted it to feel very moody and kind of dark and a retreat from the rest of the heat of Texas and the dark. The hot sun, which, as we all know, can be oppressive. And so we did a color called mahogany in there. And we painted all the doors railings, which is a black color. Really beautiful. It looks really good with all of the brass detailing that we did here. And it was interesting. We have beautiful longleaf pine original floors here in the house, and some of them are over 16 feet long, which is impossible to get now. And we stripped the floors down, and except in the kitchen area, someone had come along the way and glued down some unattractive wood material. And when we tore that up, we couldn't quite get the floor to the level that we wanted when we refinished it. So we painted it. And we did some sort of beautiful dark smoky kind of green color and maybe a Cajun spice color patchwork together in squares in the kitchen. And that was fun. It's beautiful. It's held up really well. The process was interesting. My painter came in and started painting the space, and it was a new product to him. He said it went on amazingly well. It weighs more than other paints. It has more pigment in it. It's just a whole different product. Really, really beautiful. And my husband and I came here to check on the progress one day, and we walked into the space, and I'm on job sites a lot. I'm used to the smells of being on a job site, and the worst part to live through is the painting. It's absolutely horrendous. I always tell clients to move out. We walked in here and the place smelled like an old church. It had this sort of minerally, spicy smell, like incense. It was just a beautiful smell. You didn't feel like you had to hide from it at all. I could have lived through it. You never felt as though something was off-gassing. You know, it just was very, very pleasurable and pleasant, and it went on beautifully. And we painted the exterior studio green, which I thought was kind of funny that it's our studio. We painted it studio green. And railings, again, we used railings as a color for the trim. Very dark, very moody. It really made the house feel a little smaller on the outside and a little more tailored, but that was okay, so we added black and white awnings to it. The whole experience was kind of otherworldly, just working with a material and a product that is so different than other paint lines. It's difficult to match because it has more pigment than other paints, and so when I'm talking to clients about the difference, it's a more expensive brand of paint, but a lot of times it covers so much better, you use less of it than if you use a paint line that doesn't cover as well. So there are pros and cons, and it's held up incredibly well, and there's a sheen to it that's very soft and not exactly completely flat. There's a matte kind of sheen to it that is lovely. So if you want to know more about that, about Farrow and Ball and the experience of choosing their paints and how their paints are made, we dive deeper into that on our blog. And we have a blog about our landscaping as well. That's if you want to hear more about which garden what plants we ended up with and what the process was like. You can read about it on our blog.